Welcome to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. We are a community newspaper based in Mid-Coast, Maine, and we provide the most comprehensive, in-depth coverage available anywhere of the 18 towns and one plantation that make up Lincoln County. My name is Claire Taylor, and I am a general assignment reporter here at LCN.
And my name is Christina Wallace. I'm also a reporter here at LCN, and I cover the towns of Bristol, South Bristol, Bremen, and Noblesboro. And last week was Claire's first podcast with us, and she got to introduce herself and talk about her experience. This week, we had Pumpkinfest, and so I am sitting down with Abby Iverson, the development director for Coastal Kids Preschool, who hosted a sensory-friendly Pumpkinfest event on Monday, October 13th, with a famous PBS Kids character, a raccoon named Carl the Collector. And he is very cute. And he is the first PBS Kids lead character to have autism. And so we're going to sit down and talk about the event and how they're able to create sensory-friendly environments for kids. Great. But first, here are some of the top stories from the Thursday, October 16th edition of the paper.
Newcastle residents authorized $1.45 million for the Lynch Road Bridge at a special town meeting on Tuesday, October 14th. The town can now move forward with winter construction plans to replace the current culvert, which has failed repeatedly in recent years. The culvert failed in 2010 and then failed again in May 2023 during a rainstorm. Town manager Kevin Sutherland said that the town is entitled to at least $1 million of reimbursed funds for the project through FEMA. He anticipates the town will ultimately pay anywhere from $86,996 to $429,626 for the bridge. Once completed, town officials hope the bridge will stand sturdy for a while.
I do too. Yeah. Maine game wardens find a missing 91-year-old man. Maine game wardens recovered an Edgecombe resident from the woods near his home just as temperatures dipped below freezing on Thursday, October 9th. The man was reported missing by one of his caregivers after he was gone for the majority of the day. Game warden Chad Robertson and his canine partner Storm found the man at approximately 5:40 p.m. Game wardens helped him out of the woods, where he was loaded into an all-terrain vehicle and then examined in a waiting ambulance. He was ultimately released to his family and did not have to go to the hospital, according to the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Communications Director Mark Laddie. So thankfully, he was able to make it home safe and sound, and all is well.
Pumpkinfest was a success by all measures, executive director said. The 18th annual Pumpkinfest was definitely record numbers, according to the executive director, Jed Weiss. Programming mixed together new and old events for the festival's biggest crowds yet. A rounded-out food court and the Tour de Gourde 5K race were additions this year, both of which were quite successful. Over 200 people ran in the 5K, smashing originator Mike Lee's hopes to have 100 attendees in the race, so doubled it.
Oh, wow.
Weiss attributed the festival's success to the sponsors, volunteers, and the towns of Newcastle and Damariscotta.
That's so exciting. Glad it was a successful event for everyone.
Kidding.
A political protest attempts to close Main Street during Pumpkinfest Regatta. A Whitefield woman was arrested during a political protest on the Damariscotta Newcastle Bridge at the same time as the Pumpkinfest Regatta on Sunday, October 12th. 10 to 15 protesters were attempting to block the roadway, according to Lincoln County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Rand Maker. The group, called People's Perseverance for Palestine, was demonstrating to draw attention to current events involving Israel and Palestine. Alexandra Welsh, who was the protester who was arrested, refused to leave the roadway and was arrested for obstruction of a public way, a Class E misdemeanor. Welsh was taken to Two Bridges Regional Jail and released the same day after posting $200 bail. Her initial court appearance will be on Thursday, December 11th. In some more fun Pumpkinfest news, I got to cover the Pumpkin Derby, which featured children ages 12 to 17 from across the state and beyond. And they raced in this annual Damariscotta Pumpkinfest Derby on Sunday, October 12th. According to Charlene Corbett, the executive director for Healthy Kids, 72 racers participated this year, an increase from just over 50 last year. So quite a big difference. Alex Ashton of Winterport won first place with his pumpkin decorated as a purple people eater. Elowen Wells of Portland won second place with her pumpkin decorated as a pink cat with a unicorn horn.
Love.
And DJ Lamothe of Caribou placed third with his Lifelight of Maine helicopter-inspired pumpkin. So the kids had a lot of fun and had a great turnout. And it was so fun to see all of the decorated pumpkins and seeing how creative kids got and all of that. So,
yeah, it sounds like a great time.
It was very fun.
Across the bridge at Newcastle's newest Italian restaurant, Medicini, owner Tim Janey and head chef Judd Villet are just getting started. When he was considering buying the Newcastle Public House and its surrounding property last year, Cheney, who is from New Haven, Connecticut, said that the dilapidated barn and garage seemed perfect for a new restaurant. After a 9-month renovation, the restaurant opened its doors in August and has been finding its stride as a music venue and eatery. Villet, who hails from Chicago, said the restaurant's menu should fulfill any craving with bar food like sandwiches, as well as fine dining options with classic pasta dishes. Medicini is located at 52 Main Street in the back lot.
I'm very excited to have people try out this restaurant, and we really did need an Italian restaurant in the area.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it sounds like a great time. I also love how he looked at a dilapidated barn and garage and was like, that's perfect for a restaurant. And it looks stunning. Like, he did such a good job with it.
Yeah, the renovations were fantastic.
Yeah.
He saw the vision.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. In other local news, the character of the county this week is Leah Puckey, and she knows what she wants. Puckey grew up in Newcastle with plans to take on John A. Puckey Oil Co., an independent fuel oil dealer founded by her grandfather in 1939. After she and her dad, Jack Puckey, decided to sell the business when she was barely 35, Leah Puckey needed to take on a new path. After negotiating a deal with Dead River Co., Leah Puckey stayed on in the local office to provide continuity for customers. She still works at the Newcastle office Monday through Friday, on top of caring for her father and maintaining her license as a basic emergency medical technician. To learn more about Leah Puckey, pick up a copy of the paper or visit lcnme.com.
So we were talking about this earlier, but this was our first pumpkin fest, like, ever that we've experienced. So I guess, can you tell me a little bit about, like, what your experience was like coming from a different state into Maine, experiencing Pumpkin Fest for the first time?
Yeah, it was really fun. It was kind of wild to see all these places that I'm getting to know, like, covered in pumpkins, and all of the activity and ways the town came to life was just really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great time. I got to cover the parade, and I also covered the derby, as we talked about. But my fiance and I took her dog to the pumpkin regatta, and it was so cute. He was so calm because he's just a puppy. So
yeah, that's great socialization for him.
Absolutely. There were so many people there.
Yeah, it was a big crowd.
It was huge.
Lots of other dogs too.
There were, and he did really well around the other dogs too. So. Proud dog mom moment there.
Oh, absolutely.
But I was just telling my fiance how silly it is that, like, and how the most Maine thing ever is to see a pumpkin and be like, I'm going to turn that into a boat.
Yes,
and it works.
Yes.
Like,
it really does. They were impressive.
It drew, like, a huge crowd. So that was really cool. And you got to go around and take pictures of the pumpkins.
I did. It was very fun to see, like, they just popped up all over town. And I think it just, like, like getting to know the area and like, oh, there's one out in front of Hannaford's. Oh, there's one in front of the McDonald's. Like just knowing like all of these spots, like, oh, there's pumpkins all over town and they're all so beautifully decorated. It was just so fun to see everybody's creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the artist did an incredible job, and it was cool to walk, especially around Main Street in Damariscotta, because there's like a pumpkin everywhere there.
Right.
So it was so cool to see the creativity of the artists and how they were able to bring their vision to life. And that's really cool. So if you want to see pictures from that, definitely check out a copy of our paper.
Yes,
we have pictures of pretty much all of the events there, from pie eating to the tour de gourd, to the pumpkins, to the parade, all of it. So definitely go check it out. But now on to my interview with Abby Iverson.
Can't wait.
All right. Hi, everyone. I am here with Abby Iverson, who is the Development Director for Coastal Kids Preschool. Abby, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Of course. So over Pumpkinfest, Coastal Kids Preschool held a sensory-friendly event with a famous PBS Kids character, Carl the Collector. So I would love for you to tell me about that event and how that was for the kids.
Absolutely. So Coastal Kids Preschool was very excited to have the opportunity to host the award-winning PBS Kids series character Carl the Collector, as well as have a Carl the Collector themed event, bringing the first ever sensory-friendly dedicated space to Pumpkinfest.
That's awesome. And so can you tell me a little bit about the activities that were offered for kids there and how they got to interact with Carl?
Absolutely. So first thing that I have to say is I worked closely with Maryland Public Television, and they provided a wonderful kit that can be adapted anywhere to provide this Carl the Collector themed sensory friendly event. So a lot of the activities that I'll describe came directly from them, with the idea of allowing multiple sensory-friendly events to exist nationwide and wherever else they want to be adopted. So a couple of the activities that we had that day, we are lucky to be geographically connected to the trail system for the Central Lincoln County YMCA. And so we were able to incorporate a scavenger hunt that guided kids from the pumpkin hunt and the pumpkin drop via trail system and a scavenger hunt activity to Coastal Kids Preschool. So that scavenger hunt was one of the activities that we had. We also had pumpkin painting, and Carl, our wonderful raccoon, loves his Argyle sweater. And so one of the activities that was sponsored by our local Damariscotta Hannaford was we were able to make Argyle sweaters out of Hannaford shopping bags. So all of the kids got to walk away with their Carl inspired Argyle sweater. We also provided a quiet, calm coloring space. One of the characters, Lotta from the show, is quite the artist, and definitely likes to have her low sensory stim environment to get her art done. So we had that space dedicated, and we were also able to create a low sensory STEM screening room at Coastal Kids, which allowed us to show a couple of episodes, including the new episode, which we're very excited about, the release of the Halloween Carl the Collector episode, which the new collection of episodes dropped on Monday the 13th. So that was perfect coincidence for us.
That works out perfectly.
Yes. And last but absolutely not least, we worked with LCTV. LCTV was able to work with us that day to bring in their green screen, and Alex, our cameraman, came and provided kids with the opportunity to see themselves in Fuzzy Town. So it was a wonderful opportunity to kind of break that fourth wall, or at least jump through it, and be a part of the show themselves. So we definitely got a kick out of that.
Yeah, it was so cute watching all of the kids like light up when they saw themselves on TV and get to experience being in different scenes from the show too. So it was very cute to see. So Carl the Collector is kind of a first of its kind TV show for PBS Kids, really because the main character is the first main character in PBS history that has autism. So can you tell me a little bit about the impact that having that representation on screen for kids has?
Absolutely. I think we can all say that we look to see ourselves in the media that's represented. And if you are searching to identify with a character, whether you're a child or an adult, and you're not really finding that representation, it can feel isolating. Mm-hmm. And I would say, especially if you already find yourself on what is considered the neurodivergent spectrum, the chance of that feeling of isolation or disconnect from the general population can feel more intense. So having a character that represents the emotions that you feel, represents those periods of sensory overwhelm, as well as demonstrates how to navigate through those periods, is very helpful for anyone that has those experiences. It's validating for them. Likewise, it provides an opportunity to show the community around that individual how to support them in those instances. So it gives us all the tools of how to engage with one another, while simultaneously teaching us all a little bit about emotional regulation and what everyone can do if we get into a situation that might feel a little bit stressful or overwhelming. The beautiful aspect of the show is that interplay exists amongst all of the characters. And so it's not, at no given time are we solely solving the problems or the challenges that Carl faces. We are seeing as a community how these characters in Fuzzy Town really truly show up for one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's really important to show kids at a very young age, that representation too, so they don't feel like that isolation that people can feel. Have you seen that impact on kids at the preschool with Carl the Collector?
I would say a couple of different things. One, I'm a mother of three. My kids are 9, 7, and 5. We are a neurodivergent household. Mm-hmm. And I could say even from the beginning, once the show released, because I was very excited about it from the get-go, it sparked lots of conversations. Mm-hmm. And those conversations, again, 9 times out of 10, when I think of the space that we create in an early childhood setting, what we're doing is we're providing an opportunity for social emotional development and skills that lead towards behavior regulation, emotional regulation. There's really no other dedicated period of a human being's life, except for maybe as an adult when they choose to revisit therapy, that they're going to actively engage in strategies towards emotional regulation, behavior regulation. These are tools that help all of us. And so whether you're in an early childhood setting or you're watching these social dynamics unfold through an animated television series, once you see how someone else manages those life experiences that we're all faced with, you begin to integrate those tools and those experiences. So then you see that reflect. And you see one of a high school student that that I worked with at the Y in her junior high years, she mentioned the other day that she feels like Carl the Collector is the Daniel Tiger for her generation. And, for me, it was Mr. Rogers, and then my kids a little bit more Daniel Tiger. But really what that is all about is, again, being a good friend, showing up for one another, and how you navigate through the daily challenges of life that we all face. So that's definitely, I see that play out on a daily basis. And that's where the professionals, our amazing staff at Coastal Kids, that's what they are working on with those kids day in and day out. There's the early math and early reading skills that they're working on. But in order to show up prepared for those, they have to be in the right social emotional state to be receptive to learning. And they have to be able to work with their peers. Because as Priscilla Cognan, our founder, said at a recent interview, we all know as educators, the most impactful teachers to the students are their peers. That's really who they're learning from most. So how do we create a supportive environment where they can gain that knowledge and experience through those friendships?
Absolutely. And Coastal Kids is really unique in the fact that it is a very inclusive preschool. Can you kind of talk me through what that means exactly?
Absolutely. So Coastal Kids Preschool designates a third of its spots for children that have been identified as in need of additional support. Up until recently, and this transition is happening more or less as we speak, CDS, Child Development Services, had that preschool, as in prior to kindergarten, child find responsibilities. So if a child was identified either by the parents or by a pediatrician as being in need of additional services, be it speech therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral supports, whatever it may be, or maybe they have a physical disability or need, CDS would then refer that child to Coastal Kids. And we work directly with them, and we have been the largest provider of special needs early childhood services in the Mid-Coast area. So we have that distinction, that designation that is there to make sure that we can accommodate and serve those kids that need that support. We also know, just as I said, that kids learn best from their peers. And so creating an exclusive environment that only provided services for children with additional needs at times can provide a disservice because they're not experiencing what some might consider the general population or typically developing. There's different language that is used, but the idea is that we want all kids to be within a community of their peers, supporting one another to learn and to be prepared for when they transition to kindergarten.
So when you talk about creating sensory-friendly spaces for kids, can you tell people what exactly that means?
Absolutely. So when we speak to a sensory environment, or when we speak to sensory sensitivity or sensory seeking, there's a couple of different ways that we can look at it, or at least a couple of different things that we observe. Adults, kiddos that have exceptional sensory needs can be either sensory seeking, in that they are looking for that sensory input. I mentioned that I come from a neurodivergent household. One of my kiddos in particular seeks spinning in a way that would make me and probably the vast majority of the population completely and utterly sick to their stomach. This child can be spinning at ridiculous speeds, swinging all over the place, and then the second that it stops, walk out as if nothing fazed him, and 9 times out of 10 in a much more calm and regulated state than before then. Mm-hmm. And so I provide that example just to say that there is a spectrum to what sensory needs look like. There is that sensory seeking. Another one of my kiddos, I can say, definitely moves into the realm of vocal stimming, where sometimes he likes a lot of noise in a space and will fill the space with noise, which can definitely challenge anybody who might have any sensory aversions. So there's that end of the spectrum, just because a lot of times that gets overlooked. The other end of the spectrum, a great way to think of it, even if we put it into an educational context. If you were in a classroom and you were asked to focus on the work that you had at hand, and that classroom, the thermostat was like cranked up to 105 degrees, it would make it absolutely impossible for you to concentrate on anything else other than getting yourself out of that space, and making it that much more challenging to be in that space and get the work done that you have to get done. For folks that have a lower sensory threshold, and again, we can think about this in the context of all 5 senses, any of that sensory input can feel as intense as the room being as if you were in a sauna, even though to the general population, it might not lead to that same level of overwhelm. And so again, bringing it back to education, if you are creating a sensory friendly environment within an educational setting, you are doing so to help an individual be able to regulate, move away from that sensation of overwhelm to be able to focus on whatever task is at hand. And so I bring in the education piece because what Coastal Kids provided on Monday was a beautiful recreational space for people to come and know that they could feel safe, know that they can enter into a room that is calm, comfortable. You have nice, calm activities, where you know that you're entering into an environment where you can be yourself. That's the other piece of it too, is if we have a sensory friendly environment, it's an indication to folks that this is an environment that they can bring their kids to and their kids can feel safe. We work closely with Mobius, and one of the case managers, from Mobius, the child case managers leading up to the event mentioned that she has a family that said explicitly that they don't bring their 2 kids anywhere, that it's too much. And for them, and too much, it's just a very stressful experience all around. But she said they were excited to come to the Coastal Kids event. And so that was great news. There was also a post that came up on our Facebook page asking about what age it was for, because their kiddo did attend the super fun and so exciting Kids Zone at the Central Lincoln County YMCA, but found that environment a little bit too stimulating, like overstimulating for them, and was wondering a little bit more information about our event. So again, it's not about, it's about just making a space that is accessible to all, is really what it comes down to. And again, just thinking about it from an educational context, providing that space within an educational context allows the children to then regulate that level of overwhelm to be able to return to their academics or whatever is expected of them in a classroom setting.
Yeah, absolutely. So does Coastal Kids have any more sensory friendly events coming up? And if so, or if not, is there any way that people can support those events happening in the future for Coastal Kids?
Absolutely. Our mission has always been to create space for specifically early childhood individuals, regardless of ability and income. And I mention that because holding that space in and of itself requires a lot financially. Coastal Kids Preschool continues so strong in providing that in the early childhood setting, and we see and we feel and we observed on Monday that need for more sensory friendly spaces during these events and otherwise. We want to call families in, and we want to make sure that everyone knows, because they already do know. We had so many families that showed up on Monday. And to be clear, the families that showed up on Monday, some of them would fall into the neurodiverse demographic. Other ones are alumni of ours that just love Coastal Kids so much. It is their safe home. So it's not exclusive at all. It's truly inclusive. So I would say that if there is anyone listening that is passionate about making sure that Coastal Kids can keep providing space for children to access that early childhood education piece, but also in these social opportunities, a space for families to come to and be able to enjoy that community together. I would love for them to get in touch with me. You can reach out via our website. We're at coastalkidsme, as in coastalkidsmaine.org, and definitely reach out. We would love to see more. We would love to host more, but we absolutely cannot do it alone. So we would really love to have local support get on board to make sure that we can see more of these events in the future.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate you coming on and being able to talk about this event and the impact that it had on kids. And yeah, thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you so much for your time.
All right, we will see you next week. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Broadsheet, a podcast by the Lincoln County News. This podcast is produced by Lucas McNally and Maya Zewert. Tyler Davis of Tyality Productions provides production support. Our theme music is by Stu Mahan and Lincoln County News Associate Editor / Bassist Sherwood Olin. The Lincoln County News hits newsstands across the county every Wednesday afternoon, and you can also access our work online at lcnme.com. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion, please email us at info@lcnme.com. As always, we're grateful for the support of our readers and listeners in Lincoln County and beyond. It's been great catching up today, and we'll talk with you again soon.